Well, hello there. It's been a minute, hasn't it? At least on this drive, we're going to start out reading from the November 2019 Road and Track. Again, we're just going to continue that and read for a little while here, and then it's going to go back to ambient driving sounds. Bigfoot, the pickup that snowballed into stardom by Kyle Kennard. There have been 22 Bigfoot iterations since 1974, spitting mud and sound across nearly every county in America and packing stadiums with adoring fans. 4 generations of monster truck enthusiasts claim Bigfoot as their own, but my mind conjures just one. Bigfoot 1, a 1974 Ford F-250. There it sat, awash in light from the rising Missouri sun. Behind the garages of a former tractor repair shop, the day-to-day operations of Bigfoot 4x4 Inc. buzzed to life. Oversized work bays held the latest Bigfoot trucks. Up front, a cafe and gift shop greeted eager tourists while office staff organized a global monster truck empire. Bigfoot kinda just happened, said Bob Chandler Sr., 78 of the former hobbyists who built the first monster truck. I had a shop, Midwest 4x4, and I liked going four-wheeling with the truck, so I put bigger tires on, and well, when you put bigger tires on, you start breaking axles. So I put on bigger axles. The truck was impressing other people because they'd come into the shop and want the same thing, bigger tires, and on and on. Chandler kept on too. He stormed Midwest tractor pulls, mud bogs, river runs, hill climbs, any event where he could spackle the truck in mud and entire clients. He swapped broken axles for 5-ton military units scavenged from junkyard rigs. The Ford's tires and engine displacement grew. Exhibition events became routine, so did repairs. I'd come back every Monday to the shop with a broken truck, he chuckled. My general manager called me Bigfoot, they said. If you'd keep your Bigfoot out of the throttle, then you wouldn't have any problems. I like that. Promoters came calling. Success snowballed. Bigfoot the machine officially debuted at events across the Midwest in 1975. In 77, it was the first truck to sit on the floor at SEMA. By 1979, it was the first paid appearance. In Denver, promoters coined the term monster truck. Chandler retired Bigfoot 1 in 1982. Nearly a decade of abuse had taken its toll. Bigfoot 2, a 79 Ford, came next. The old truck didn't languish, participating in the odd demo and appearing at local events. But by 2019, it had become an antique, idling through a few parades per year. Imagine Bigfoot crawling behind a Girl Scout float. Today, at least, the truck was off its leash. You might expect the old Ford to feel small by modern standards, as old cars do. But its girth defies perception. The thing's relative size made me feel like a kid when doorknobs were eye hazards and my grandpa had to lift me into his work truck. Up close, Bigfoot's pillbox body towered over my 6-foot frame. The rest of the rig seems all tires, all bulging, absurd mountain of rubber. Those tires smack of hammerhead sharks or saber-toothed tigers, creatures with outsized features evolved for ultra-violence. Dan Runte helmed Bigfoot 1 for our photography. He had better assignments at a monster truck's wheel, vaulting a 727's wingspan, clearing a tractor-trailer lengthwise, setting jump records for distance and height. Runt joined the Bigfoot effort in 1989, just as monster trucks switched from commercial truck frames to tube chassis. When Bigfoot went tube, Bob Sr. designed its frame to mimic that of an off-road vehicle. Stunts went bonsai as a result. It's intimidating, Runt said, his voice a deep drawl. I can't really explain what goes through your head at that point when you're lined up for a big jump. It's more about the speed and hitting it straight than anything else. Even though he wrote much of Bigfoot's modern history from scratch-built trucks, and with a heavy right foot, Runt speaks fondly of the original. Bigfoot 1 was the first truck that ever ran over cars. I remember seeing it in the early 80s, when I was young. I guess that's why I treat it so gingerly now. You know where it came from, you know its history, you know the evolution that it started. Years later, here we are, working in an industry someone started from a 4-wheel drive shop. The contrast is hard to fathom. Bigfoot, small town curiosity, and capital letter Bigfoot. The truck with more than 13 million YouTube views. On any given weekend, 5 Bigfoot trucks are stomping dirt across the country, then returning to Missouri for maintenance. The operation is run like a Brooklyn deli, quaint, low-fuss, family-centric. Runt said the small-time perspective is Chandler's doing, an earnest humility ingrained in the operation from the top down. I was born and raised on a farm, he says. One of my biggest things is, I remember, you put your pants on the same way as the guy that's coming to see you. I just got to be where I was when I was, and drive what I drove when I drove it, and did a fairly decent job at it. Did an okay job. Runt posed Bigfoot in a field abutting the shop. The truck coughed, idling lumpily, and he shut off the engine abruptly, yelling down from the cab. Water temp's high, and the oil pressure's going too. We're still figuring out the radiator setup on the new engine. Bigfoot's original V8 sat on a stand outside the front doors of its parent company's headquarters. The old unit, a 640 cube V8 with 3 Predator carbs and an 871 BDS blower, makes 1400 horsepower on race gas. The engine was treated to a full rebuild 2 years ago, but parts proved scarce. The team plugged a supercharged Ford crate engine into its place. It puts down about 800 horsepower, seems to be enough. The tires have changed too. After its life on the road, Bigfoot 1 was shod with Bigfoot 2 tires, 1100 pounds, 66 by 43 by 25 Flintstones, borrowed from agriculture sprayer tractors. Workers shave each tire's tread blocks down to monster truck spec, then sand them uniform. The process cuts 200 pounds of unsprung mass from each tire. After a brief rest, Runt whipped into the driver's seat again. Those colossal tires spun. Donuts, little drifts, burnouts. He was not treating it gingerly. Rolls of grass and dirt clung to the Firestones, then jettisoned from every side. I climbed into my Rento Hyundai and led the truck through a field at 30 miles an hour for photos. The Ford loomed in the side mirror. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. It didn't take long before the truck was spent. Cooling fans whirled and steam poured from under the hood. I looked back to see photographer Dave Burnett picking mud from his hair and arms, and his grin. A crowd of the shop's mechanics gawked nearby. Well, crap. That's the hardest that thing's been run in, 20 years? Runt was beaming. I asked him why such a big truck doing silly things holds such appeal. Why does Bigfoot, in any iteration, turn us into kids full of wonder? It's entertainment. You can bring a 40-year-old or a 5-year-old. They don't have to understand it. They just have to like what they see. I agree. Age probably doesn't have a whole lot to do with it, Chandler said. We had an 80-year-old lady, in fact. Her daughter called and said, "My mom's having a birthday and she wants to ride in Bigfoot." So we brought her to the shop in a wheelchair. We put it on a pallet, raised it up, and put her in the truck and drove her around the parking lot with it. All you could see was her nose sticking over the top of the dash and her smile. Maybe that seems out of Disney, but family has been at the heart of this truck since the beginning appeal. Chandler's 3 children all work at Bigfoot 4x4 Inc., in capacity from CEO to office admin. And in a broader sense, he has always aimed Bigfoot at American families. We're more personal. We perform in small venues, let the kids meet the drivers and climb on the cars. And the price of monster truck shows is nothing like what you'd pay for NASCAR or anything else. I've noticed over the years that when the economy is sour, our business goes up. People can't spend big money on vacations, but they can sure go down and see the monster truck show in their local town. I've always wanted to keep it that way. With the day closing, my turn came. Runt slipped over the Bigfoot's passenger seat. I reached for the base of the roll bar at the rocker panel, then braced 1 foot high on the mud-slick tires. The final step, swinging my second foot chest high, nearly split my shorts. From the driver's seat, Bigfoot 1 feels much like any old truck. There's the tidy factory dash, entirely intact, flanked by aftermarket gauges on every surface, even a nitrous button. You peer over a familiar-looking square hood, and oddly, as much as the boulder-sized tires dominate the Ford silhouette, you can't see them from inside. I slapped the transmission, a time-tested Ford C6 3-speed auto, into first gear, and off we went. A poke at the gas brought a thimble of revs, but buckets of noise, the straight-piped V8 gargling. I wheeled the truck past the transport trailer and whipped into a turn. There's no body roll. Runt explained that the truck has just 6 inches of suspension travel, so it feels responsive, but its bones have suffered countless traumas that modern long-wheel travel shocks would smooth it out. That explains the groaning and grinding from every corner. In a turn, you flick a little switch on the door panel to activate the rear wheel steer system. This pivots the truck's rear axle, decreasing its turning radius. Pressing the switch inward steers left and outward right. You have to remember to straighten the axle when you're done turning, but if you think too hard about it, brain goes into a pretzel. Like anything monster truck really. In early races, Bigfoot's drivers were downshifting with one hand while backing the truck into corners with the rear wheel steer system. The technique left 0 hands on the steering wheel for more than a moment, while the Ford was aimed at, well, everything a monster truck might aim at, including crowds. Later iterations of the machine saw Chandler mercifully move the rear steer controls to the shift knob. I flicked the switch to straighten the axle and drove back towards the garage. Runt and I shook hands. He hopped down from the cab and I huffed one last gulp of that old truck musk. There's something here. More than spectacle, more to Bigfoot 1's appeal than the V8 shriek and cheap tickets. It's the idea of the pickup truck itself. There's a fundamental decency to the pickup, and often to the people who rely on them to put Cheerios on the table. Bigfoot 1 is a love letter to the working class, reflective of a notion both hopeful and deeply American. The idea that hard work lifts your dreams. Sometimes that's as simple as making sure your kids get enough to eat. Sometimes it's putting your F-250 on stilts and launching it over a Boeing. Bigfoot wouldn't mean as much to so many if Bob Chandler had owned a Pinto. I leaped down from the cab. Runt offered me a beer, the can collecting condensation above its logoed Bigfoot koozie. We always throw Old Glory on the top of the truck before it heads outside, one of the shop hands said. I hope that didn't ruin any of your photos. Sunlight splashed through the nearby trees, bathing the fort in a honeycomb glow. I grinned. No, that's just perfect. And a side note, in a small office at Bigfoot's HQ, a stack of Betamax and VHS tapes reaches 6 feet high. These are the Bigfoot archives, grainy recordings of long-gone events. Each tape is digitized, archived, and discarded. The best footage lives again on YouTube. The rest disappear on a server. The stack of tape shrinks away but reminds us of Bigfoot's enduring appeal and of Bigfoot's many adventures ahead.
find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set them rewind. And 19 was the year I had to leave you, but now I'm seeing all the signs. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. I sit here looking for an answer. Maybe the biggest question was in the last chapter. You gave me the soul I have today. Without you I never could have moved away. But now I seek what you teach. I do believe I always should state. Yeah. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. One day I'll be One day I'll be yours. One day I'll be yours. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 get something from nothing. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 get something from nothing. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 get something from nothing. Life changes just open the door. One thing's certain, I'll always be yours. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours. Yeah. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised.
red Mazda drives insane. And we reach the red light at the exact same time. Don't know what the point of that type of driving is at all. Like, you definitely didn't get any further, so why drive that fast?